Welcome back everyone, and it's time to go balls deep. We might as well get it straight to the point and address the very sad day we just all experienced together as one collective community. I myself have been debating with many people 8 hours a day with what the hell just happened. Now before I begin, I would like to state that I'm not here to debate or rage. I am going to try and keep everything civilized, and I want all of you watching at home to accomplish this as well. I know we are all hurt right now. We are all going through the 5 stages of grief with the finale to a beloved manga that we followed for 10 years. I get it. Some of us are in the anger phase, some of you are bargaining, whilst others have already accepted it. Now, I will sprinkle my opinion throughout this video in an objective point of view, so everything in this video will make logical sense with how the events unfolded in Attack on Titan's final chapter 139. There is no denying that Attack on Titan chapter 139 has sparked a raging debate from all corners of the fandom. Eren x Mikasa shippers, Eren x Historia shippers, Yeagerists that supported Eren, Alliance supporters that were the opposite, the time loop theory, or Eren is the father to the baby, Eren is Lelouch and has a master plan, and much more people and corners of the fandom. We have all been united together. Isayama accomplished his goal and original intention of hurting us all. He subverted most people's expectations as the entire fandom is crying regarding the revelations due to how tragic it is. I do want to state that me and Yusuf cannot think for you, but you can write your opinion in the comments, and I want you to. You may argue that there are plot holes, some may argue that this feels rushed, whilst other people would state that this is perfection. We will give our full analysis and opinion on a separate video following up this one, and I intend on creating a video how Attack on Titan could have ended, and even address plot holes or questions that you will put in the comment section right now, and I will feature you in that video. Whatever you are thinking or confused about regarding Attack on Titan chapter 139, please put it down so I can address it. Isayama, the creator of Attack on Titan, he stated himself that he changed the ending multiple times throughout creating it due to his reasons. For example, in the original draft, Attack on Titan's ending was going to be like a Hollywood movie called The Mist, where everyone would die. He has even stated on record that Guardians of the Galaxy influenced his ending, or even Game of Thrones, where Isayama was disappointed how Game of Thrones season 8 ended. So please hit the notification bell and like this video if you are interested in hearing another ending of Attack on Titan, and for me to answer your questions and ending your confusion from the comments. So Attack on Titan chapter 139 starts with Eren and Armin speaking in the realm of paths. Eren has used his founding Titan power, and this is a conversation continued from chapter 131. These events occurred in Armin's mind when he was on the boat with Annie. Armin explains to Eren that he understands why he did the rumbling. It was for saving the future of Paradise and Eldians, but he also complains about Eren beating him up to a pulp and kneeing him, which was back in chapter 112. Some fans would argue, why would Armin mention something so trivial when he just learnt his best friend Eren committed genocide on the world's population? Shouldn't Armin react in a more opposed manner, since it was portrayed in the previous chapters that his ideological point of view is different to Eren's, and he wanted to speak to him regarding their differences? Armin's philosophy was meant to juxtapose Eren's strive for freedom, where Eren would try to achieve his goals at all costs, where Armin tries to find middle ground and rationalize morality with one's actions. However, it is revealed immediately that Armin accepted Eren's decision to do the rumbling, so there was actually no conflict between these two characters at all. Now, since I am trying to shed light on every opinion from every corner of the Attack on Titan fandom, some would argue that there is definitely not enough context and information given to multiple subplots that needed addressing, such as the hallucigenia, Ymir Fritz, Historia's pregnancy, and Eren's point of view. But I will address all of this later on in the video, so please stick around. Anyways, as we mentioned last month in our Eren x Mikasa love video, Eren admits that he was desperate to push all of them away. Eren himself was baffled regarding what he was doing. He let the moment take over in lashing out. Eren is an extremely flawed human being and has his insecurities regarding why he is doing the rumbling and the pain it will cause to everyone. It made him try to push them away so that he can bear the actions that he is going to do. Armin tells Eren that he shouldn't be the one he is apologizing to or explaining himself to as well. Rather, it should be Mikasa. This is because Mikasa has suffered the most pain from Eren's actions and words, since everyone knows Mikasa is in love with Eren. Even Eren himself knows this, but he cannot acknowledge these feelings because if they end up together, the curse of Ymir will continue and the Titans will always exist in the world. Armin understands that Eren did the rumbling because the Zero Requiem theory the fandom had for years upon years has finally come true. He did it so the Alliance and so-called island devils that the world hated would be subverted into heroes instead by humanity. The blind hatred, prejudice and racism against the people of Paradise will cease to exist due to the very same people uniting with Marley to save them in this poetic message that all humans in the face of a common enemy are truly one and can understand one another if they tried. The Alliance and Scouts were the ones that will end up saving the world against a monster that was going to destroy them all. This is the monster the world created through their wicked ways and blind nationalism that caused the hatred in the first place. This concept was brought up by Pixies in chapter 12, but Isayama he poked fun at the idea where he used Eren's character to call this idea dull and rosy, giving an example that even with Titan existing, people of Paradise was not united. However, the irony is that Eren became just that due to his selfish desire for freedom. He ended up with a tragic destiny. Eren's logic for becoming the monster to the world is that in the aftermath of their fight, he let his friends win against his founding Titan on purpose. The world would have to see the Alliance as saviors of every surviving member of society. This is because they turned their backs on Paradise, letting go of their pride, ego, ideals and nationalism in the name of saving mankind. Eren states that his sacrifice will cause the world to respect the Alliance the most out of everyone. Therefore, they will be able to make a difference in the aftermath. He explains that the world won't be able to attack Paradise immediately after the rumbling since he will kill 80% of humanity. This implies the idea that eventually the other nations might want to get revenge and war never changes. Humans will try to attack Paradise once again, but Eren bought them a lot of time and made the other nations regress technologically whilst Paradise was advanced to catch up militarily, politically and more. So now the future war between the nations are more balanced rather than being one-sided where Paradise was guaranteed to lose. Remember in chapter 138 in the vision with Mikasa, if Eren decided not to do the rumbling, we were told Paradise immediately loses by nations invading. Everyone Eren loved would die with the Titans still existing in the world too, which makes it even worse. So Eren had to decide to either let Paradise die and all his friends whilst he got to live his remaining years with Mikasa, the love of his life, or Eren had to do the rumbling and follow his path set by Ymir to sacrifice himself. Also, in the meantime, whilst the world is recovering from the rumbling, Eren is betting on his friends who will be recognized as heroes to be the medium of peace between Paradise and the rest of the world. Moving back to Attack on Titan chapter 139, we see Eren take Armin to where they wanted to go. Whilst on the way, they speak about Ymir Fritz, the original founding Titan that has caused chaos for 2000 years on the planet. This is because she is following King Fritz's will, the man that enslaved her and raped her. Eren explains that King Fritz burnt down Ymir's hometown, killed her parents, pulled out her tongue, raped her as a child, forced her to have kids, and made those very same kids eat her corpse upon her death. Even after she gained godlike powers to defy him instantly and get her revenge and kill him, she chose not to do it. This is because Ymir Fritz was somehow in love with the king.
What?
We are then shown a picture which is so disturbing, so disgusting that I want to vomit, just thinking about how dark it is and how gruesome this story truly has become. King Fritz is seen with 4 other concubines that he's probably having sex with, whilst Ymir Fritz as a teenager is holding her daughter, supposedly in love with him. So now I'm going to speak an opinion from part of the fandom. Parts of the fandom is absolutely baffled and confused regarding this as a plot device because it makes absolutely no sense in the grand scheme of things in their opinion. This is because originally, thematically, it made sense that Ymir Fritz freed the pigs which caused the curse to continue for 2000 years, because symbolically and metaphorically this meant freeing the pigs from the cage that they could achieve freedom, as she herself is in a cage and is a slave, and she thinks differently from everyone else. Ymir Fritz would yearn for freedom naturally, right? Since she was a slave to a tyrannical madman. This is what caused her to be banished in the first place and chased by dogs. This is how she achieved to get the power of the Titans in the first place, something Eren described in chapter 139 as something godlike. Remember, Armin mentioned in chapter 137 that Ymir wanted something from the Eldians. She was also in chains that Eren broke free and claimed that she can use her free will for once and for all. For the first time in her life, she is no longer a slave that has to follow someone or has to create the Titans in the paths for the world to continue their selfish desire of war and hatred. In one interpretation, one could say Eren followed and embodied the same attitude of Ymir Fritz did when she freed the pigs from their walls. Eren was someone with a goal in mind that juxtaposed every other character. The fact that Eren would destroy oppression and the walls that confine him at any cost. Every single plot device that Isayama set was telling the community that Ymir wanted to end the curse and be free herself, which she achieved in the end anyway, but this is contradictory because just like the pigs and how Historia mentioned in chapter 122 that she is actually a good person in her interpretation of the myth of how Titans were created, rather than being a devil that the whole world believes Ymir to be from the history books, she is not. However, later on in chapter 139, we come to learn that Ymir wanted to become free from her own feelings that enslaved her throughout the years. After she found the power of the Titan, she went back to King Fritz. Initially, this action was really confusing, but we learned that she was in love, maybe due to Stockholm Syndrome or some other weird reason. However, Eren wanted to help free her from her emotional chains, which she requested through the Attack Titan that embodied freedom. As Eren and Armin look up to the sky, Armin doesn't believe Eren's words. Mikasa? When Armin asks why Mikasa was chosen by Ymir, Eren claims that he can't understand the depth of Ymir's heart, but for now, he's simply unsure of Mikasa's future choices which leads them there. Eren just did what was necessary to reach the end result, as he believed that would grant him his own version of freedom, a world where the Eldian race and other humans can eventually live together without walls. Mikasa was chosen by Ymir because she embodies Ymir's love which enslaved her, and in respective, Eren embodies King Fritz. Mikasa achieved what Ymir couldn't have by killing the ones she loved and let go. But the thing is, I don't know what to say, and part of the fandom are saying, and it is kind of true, but Mikasa and Eren shippers lose out on this, and I'm sorry to say that to you, but Mikasa, tragically, she doesn't get to be with the one she loves. At least give us that, Isayama, please. But no, it doesn't happen because Mikasa had to let go of her love and kill Eren, right? And she does it. But we clearly know that Mikasa is still attached to Eren, as she cries her eyes out even 3 years later, and is clearly still attached to him and in love with him, and didn't really let go. I'm confused. Isayama subverted all expectations. Ymir Fritz is a victim and became the devil from the myths because of it. She continued the curse and destroyed the world for 2000 years since she was in love with the Mad King that treated her like a tool. She wanted to see Mikasa kill Eren so that she could resolve her own attachment to the world. However, we learn that Eren himself saw a future of freedom and a way to achieve it. This was the future he alone had seen that day during the award ceremony for their success. Because of how the concept of time moves linearly, it does not exist for Eren, right? It leads to him controlling certain parts of the past. Bertholdt wasn't supposed to die by Dina Fritz that day, so Eren led her away, which led to Dina killing his own mother. Now we know Eren was motivated by his mother's death in fighting the Titans, even seeking revenge for it and the freedom he wanted. His mother is the one that loved him selflessly and is the one that gave him the phrase that he was born into this world. She's the one that embodied everything he wanted to be loved, right? However, learning that Eren inadvertently killed his own mother, it makes everything seem like it is a paradox. But this might not be the case, as Eren only influenced certain events and not all, like the actions of Marley and the fact that the walls in Shinigashima was destroyed. None of this was his doing. Ultimately, Eren saw an end result of the future that resulted in the freedom he sought. He only manipulated the past to a limited degree to ensure freedom will will be achieved. Eren admits himself in chapter 139 that his mind was confused. He couldn't handle the power, basically, if you get what I'm trying to say. Eren himself didn't even fully understand the means to get to the end, but he understood what this end result meant. However, Armin, in shock of the revelation that he just got told, takes a hold of Eren's hand and telling him to move on. And so Armin finally asks what he thinks about Mikasa, if she can really adhere to Eren's words in chapter 138. Eren says he doesn't know if Mikasa will live by Eren's words and be happy. Armin proceeds to punch Eren in the face, knocking him into the water, as Armin tells Eren off for rejecting Mikasa, who's selflessly and constantly been putting her life behind Eren's. That if Mikasa just forgot Eren, she'd find someone nice, someone better than Eren himself. However, Eren shows a love side of himself. He shouts out he doesn't want that to be, that he wants her to only love him and he should be the first thing on her mind and she should think about him for at least 10 years after his death. This is showing a humanistic and kind of pathetic side of Eren, because at the end of the day, he's just a 19-year-old kid. He has to shoulder such a big burden, and upon his impending death, he has to vent out these emotions that, bro, I just want to be with Mikasa, man. Like, I can't take this anymore. So he vented it all out, right? I get it. I totally get it. I don't know why people are angry at this moment. I'm like, bro, have you ever been in love? Love is such a powerful emotion that I completely understood Eren saying this. I don't agree with anyone saying that this was stupid. Eren pleads to Armin to not tell Mikasa what he just said. Even Armin surprised at how petty that was and how pathetic the words that just came out of Eren were. Armin tries to convince Eren that there's still a way for him to live, but Eren forfeits the chance. Since there's no way he'd be allowed to live, no one will be able to forgive him. He can't even forgive himself after how many people he had killed, and they will never get a second chance to live. They probably didn't want to die either, right? Eren ex Mikasa shippers didn't get what they wanted. The option of Eren to hide from the world with Mikasa for the rest of his life is completely taken out of the story, so they are extremely sad just like the rest of the fandom. Eren could have lived, but he said no, I don't want to. In Attack on Titan chapter 139, Eren explains that he would still have gone through with the rumbling until the end regardless of the expected result. Now Armin asks him the question that we're all wondering, why would you do the rumbling? Why do you want to kill humanity? Now in response, Eren says he doesn't know why. He sought freedom so badly, he just wanted to be free at any cost. We then get a flashback of Eren as a baby being held by his father Grisha, with his father's words, your name is Eren, you are free. This flashback in a way answers Armin's question and explain how Grisha's hope for freedom for his people is being embodied in Eren. Grisha came from an oppressive reality where he didn't really have a true sense of freedom. After he escaped Mali with the Attack Titan power with the help of Eren Kruger, Grisha achieved more freedom than he ever had. He remarried and had another son. However, unlike Z, who lived in the oppressive reality similar in the way that Grisha did as a child, Eren is born in a more free reality in comparison to his father, and he embodies these words that his father said to him as soon as he was born. So when Grisha says you are free, the idea of it takes over Eren to actually feel it and truly seek it. Now as Eren grows up, he finds himself in a false freedom, trapped by the wolves and oppressed by the Titans, and then later the wolves change, and so the oppressors being humans themselves. Eren was also following the path Ymir set for Mikasa to kill him. He admits on page 8 that the only thing I knew for sure was the result of Mikasa's choice. All of it was to arrive at the result. That's why I kept moving forward. So when Eren stated that he hates those that are slaves to their oppression and lies, such as in chapter 112, he was doing an act as he stated in chapter 139. The tragic irony is that Eren himself, seeking his selfish desire for freedom, caused him to be a slave to a path and die by the hands of the one he loved the most. Now what you have to understand for the ending to make sense, guys, during the Mali arc, the character development that Eren had into this, supposed masterman and Chad that you wanted him to be, it was all a facade. He was acting in front of Armin and Mikasa, as he admits it in the chapter 139, right? He did it to push them away. Eren made us believe in chapter 130 and chapter 131 that this all stemmed from his mother's death, that he wanted revenge. He even asked Reiner why his mom had to die, but at that point of time, he must have not realized it was his doing since his mind was warped. Eren explained in chapter 139 he was confused due to how time works after gaining the power. So when Eren said in chapter 100, I will move forward until all my enemies are destroyed, his enemies being Titans, not everyone else. In chapter 106, our only salvation is to wake up the Titans sleeping in the walls and crush the world into dust. In chapter 123, he said the same thing where he says, I will kill them all until every one of these animals are gone, and in chapter 123 his whole declaration that he will move forward until life is gone in the outside world. Eren's main objective is to protect the people of Paradise who bore him and raised against the world who wants to bring Eldian extinction. Now in chapter 131 you're probably wondering, bruh, didn't he state beyond saving Eldia I wanted the outside world gone because I was so disappointed? Once again in chapter 130 he stated to Historia, I will bring ruin to the world and the only way to break this cycle of hate is to crush the outside civilization into dust and wipe its history clean. Also, if you can remember, Eren was in the prison cell alone shouting fight, fight to himself, and he did all of this just to convince himself to go along with his own plan. Now obviously you're probably wondering, these parts were not part of the ruse or the lie at all. These were parts of his will and desire for freedom, since they were his internal monologues or speeches to the world, venting his own emotions and ideology. And you're right, Eren was conditioned to his future memories, unfortunately, which he confirmed that he can't alter. He deluded himself into the idea to be ready for the result. Perhaps him seeking freedom was Eren, ironically enough, being caged in by the shackles of destiny. They've reached the end of their conversation and Armin's memory is to be wiped after the conversation is over, and Armin gives his final thanks to Eren for sacrificing himself for their sake, and he won't let it go to waste, embracing each other for the final time ever as Eren tells Armin that he'll be the savior of the world. Now I'm gonna go pass the video to Yusuf as he's going to answer and explain even more questions that you have and the final ending of chapter 139.
Okay, so we then come out the realms of the paths to see that this was all a vision given to Armin a few chapters ago when he was on the boat with Annie and the rest of the gang, linking to the scene we see in chapter 131. After all of this, we come back to the present time as Falco's Titan comes crashing down to the world. Armin's colossal Titan form has dissipated and he remembers his conversation with Eren. Mikasa walks up to him while she holds Eren's head. Armin then breaks down as he embraces Eren's decapitated head which Mikasa is holding. Mikasa asks him if he remembers when Eren came to visit them, where Armin replies that he does, and he also remembers Eren saying Mikasa killing him would make the power of the Titans disappear. And a quick reminder is that Mikasa remembers her interaction with Eren before Eren's death. This is because she is an Ackerman and they are known for being Eldians whilst their memories are being protected from being altered by the Founding Titan's ability. This subsequently explains why Mikasa was getting headaches all along. Eren inviting her to the path must have lived a life with her in the path reality as we see in chapter 138. We know this is possible as Eren was able to change the sceneries depicting lava and the sea during his interaction with Armin in the realms of the path. And let's not forget that in this realm, time works differently. Eren lived a lifetime with Mikasa but intended for her to forget this interaction. However, Mikasa Ackerman's blood kicked in and she was able to remember everything. That actually ultimately pushed her to complete the task of killing Eren as she understood what he wanted. Along with that, this was a great indication to the cause of Mikasa's headaches. It was because Eren was trying to make her forget and alter her memories, but he couldn't. Regardless, Eren's death led to all of the people that turned into Titans in chapter 138 turning back into humans. Now this removed a lot of the emotional shock from the last chapter, along with the hallucinogenia somehow dying off screen. We are left with the assumption that with Eren's death, Ymir was able to pass on along with the world of the path and the hallucinogenia just dissipating into nothingness. But putting that aside, all of the gang remembers that Eren visited all of them too as they all cry. This gives us another depth to the story without actually portraying it. Eren interacting with all of his friends in the realms of the path could have actually lasted for such a long time, where he not just explained his motives but possibly even live in a reality where he spends time with them. Regardless, in one of the best sequences of this entire chapter, we watch as all of the scouts appear in the smoke of the hallucinogenia. We witness a heartbreaking scene of Levi saluting the scouts one final time as they pass on, telling them that this is what they dedicated their hearts out to as he cries. With that, we then get one final goodbye from our potato girl Sasha as she salutes. A lot of you might be thinking, how the heck is Sasha and the other Eldians appearing like this? Aren't they dead? Well, as we learned from chapter 137, the dead Eldians' consciousness was stored in the realms of the path, preventing them from truly moving on. This is how Bertolt, Tom Kasaver, Grisha and the other Titans were able to help Armin. In some weird way, the path became a purgatory, but after the true death of the Founding Titan, Ymir let go of this world and this purgatory also also disappeared. Now amongst the smoke, Gabby spots Falco running towards her in tears as he embraces her, but she just goes WWE mode and suplexes him. At the same time, Reiner finally meets his mother face to face as he tells her that he no longer is an armored titan, expecting her to be disappointed, but to his surprise, she wasn't. And then she hugs him. Elsewhere in the smoke, Mikasa tells Armin that she must go, since it's likely that Eren would not be allowed to have a proper burial. Armin suggests that he should be buried somewhere quiet, where Mikasa recalls a spot he once used to nap under, a place which Armin agrees with. As Armin watches Mikasa walk off with Eren's head, Secretary Muller and his soldiers stand off in front of Annie, Reiner and the rest of the Eldins armed and ready to go. Mr. Leonhardt, Annie's dad, pleads. With Eren now dead, the power of the Titans is no more. The Eldins are now no different from the rest of the humans, just regular people. But Secretary Muller, out of fear, wasn't buying it and demanded proof. Mr. Leonhardt suggested a blood test, but Muller wanted to know if they were people or Titans right now and right here. Just as the soldiers prepped a gun, Armin comes in and activates the ultimate Tokno Jutsu technique, logic, to explain to Muller if they were capable of turning into Titans, why hadn't they done so already? They would have resisted by now instead of standing helplessly at gunpoint. This was their proof of humanity. Muller is then like, who the hell are you? To which Armin responds that he is Armin Arlet, an Aldin from Paradise Island and the slayer of Eren Yeager, the attack titan who started the rumbling. And this is exactly what Eren wanted. He wanted Armin and his friends to become heroes. Heroes who the world would accept. Now we then get a 3-year time skip and the war against Eren Yeager has now been dubbed as the Battle of Heaven and Earth. We are shown a panel that Historia has now given birth and is celebrating her child's 3rd birthday. We can see Historia living happily knowing that her baby will not grow to continue the cycle of children eating their parents, as Eren stated back in chapter 130. However, those who have survived the battle have been left permanently scarred. On top of the massive losses of lives, the world's biggest fear of the Aldin nation becoming militarized by the Jaegerists came true, which came into fruition after Aldin's feared retaliation from the rest of the world. And they have even adopted Mikasa's famous phrase of, if we fight, we win. If we lose, we die. If you don't fight, we can't win. And in the perspective of the Aldin people, they are feeling fear of retaliation from the world for what Eren the leader did. They are preparing the army for any possible war. As we saw in the previous panels, in the last 3 years, Paradise Island seemed to have flourished since it was the only land untouched by Eren's rumbling. Historia adds Eren's statement that this fight will not end until Eldia or the world disappears, in which he feels that Eren might have been right about that. However, Historia states that even so, Eren chose to leave the world in their hands, and this world that they live in now is a world without Titans. Eren actually accomplished his goal of destroying all Titans in the world by getting rid of the curse. However, Isayama tries to tell the readers that the conflict could possibly always continue because of human nature and the cyclic nature of life. With that, Historia in the forefront is then seen waiting at Paradise Harbor alongside other officials, amongst them being Lady Kiyomi, indicating that there was some sort of contact with the outside world. We come to learn that Historia and her group are waiting for none other than a ship consisting of Armin, Annie, Jean, Connie, Reiner and Pete, who she sent the letter to. After the rumbling, Armin and the gang being seen as heroes has now become representatives and ambassadors of the allied nation. Now we aren't given a lot of information about this allied nation, but as we mentioned in the previous few reviews, we predicted that after Eren's Requiem, the world will form an alliance and a NATO of a sort. This is exactly it. And Armin is the spokesperson for this world organization. As Armin finishes reading the letter from Historia, we see our gang playful interaction, with Reiner being a weirdo sniffing on the letter like a pervert would do to a female underwear. Jean then calls him a creep, telling him off and reminds us that Historia is a married woman. These interactions showcases their growth together after the war in peaceful time. As Jean smartens up for all the females in Paradise, he indicates that he possibly alongside the others are written into history. Annie lets everyone know that they are reaching Paradise, but then questions if them going there representing the allied nation is a good idea. Annie reminds Armin that they are hated in Eldia due to destroying the walls back in season 1, later betraying the island and then, to put the nail in the coffin, killing Eren, who the people of Paradise strongly revered. Now it may seem stupid feeling respect for someone who mass murdered 80% of the population, but we have to remember Paradise was about to be wiped from the map as a whole, and Eren literally became the devil to stop that from happening. To these people who suffered the shit they did for years, living as a strong nation as they are now is all due to Eren's decision. Regardless, peak feeling Annie's sentiments adds that she wouldn't be surprised if Paradise sunk this ship. However, Connie interjects, telling them to believe in Historia. Connie informs us that as queen, Historia's first move was to secure protection for his and Jean's family. Let's not forget that Connie's mother, alongside everyone who was a Titan, are humans again. But with this action, Connie believes in Historia and feels as though she would do the same for them. To clear Annie's doubt, her man Armin reminds her of the reality the world faces, as at the end of the day, they do not live in heaven, they live on earth, and conflicts will never really vanish completely. However, he adds that when the people of Paradise sees them together, sees Armin, Connie and Jean, and the Malian soldiers who once attacked them, they will want to know about their story, explaining how they are united and what united them. The people of Paradise will want to know why those who have tried to kill each other for so long have appeared to advocate peace, and they will want to know what they all saw. And Armin is confident after he tells them everything, including what happened with Eren, then they will submit to peace. After all, the reason the Yeagers are forming an army is out of fear that the remaining 20% of the world still hates them and will attack them for what Eren did. But in reality, because of Armin and the Alliance defeating Eren in front of the Malian forces, who represented the strongest nation of their time, the Malians came to accept that the Eldians are no longer a threat, and as we know from the commander's message in chapter 134, they understood how their actions led to the rumbling. So the nation of Mali has accepted to end war and violence first by accepting being part of the allied nation. We see a materialization of this end result, with Levi being pushed in a wheelchair by Gabi and Falco alongside Anya Capone. This is more than likely in Mali, but the key thing to note is that everyone is dressed alike. Gabi nor Falco are forced to wear a badge indicating that they are lesser Aldians. Rather, this place has come to accept everyone. There seem to be no hierarchy based on race. This is the new world of peace and freedom which Eren foresaw. As Armin then looks out the ship, we then see a white bird fly by, dropping a feather to Armin. Throughout Attack on Titan, this bird was a constant imagery given to us representing the freedom Eren longed for. And now that the curse of Ymir and the cycle of Titan bloodshed has ended and an allied nation advocating peace has formed, showcases the world is coming to a greater form of freedom that it has ever been in before. The feather of the bird could even represent a piece of freedom that Armin now holds in his hands. With that, we then move to Mikasa, who is resting beneath the tree we see in chapter 1, where it all began. Eren's head is buried and the grave was made for him. She speaks to his grave, saying how everyone is coming to visit him soon and if he is happy. We then get a sweet flashback to the scene in chapter 1 of Mikasa approaching a sleeping Eren, which makes Mikasa cry, longing to meet Eren once more. However, as this happens, a bird, possibly even the same one who dropped its feathers to Armin, bites onto Mikasa's scarf, wrapping it around her neck more securely, similar to the time when Eren first gave it to her. In chapter 51, Eren promised Mikasa before they were about to supposedly die that Eren would always and forever wrap that scarf around her neck, no matter what, thus implying that Eren did somehow inspire the bird. As the bird flies off, Mikasa says, "Thank you for wrapping the scarf, Eren." Now it's not clear if Mikasa is talking to the bird or actually thinking back in the past when Eren himself wrapped the scarf around her. But from a first glance, it seems as though Eren is connected to this bird more than it being just a simple symbolism. Throughout the final arc, this white bird has been thrown at us left, right, center. Either it's Eren's spirit animal or Eren somehow managed to transcend into another dimension after his death, similar to how Ymir did so. Eren possibly being a bird would be the literal wings of freedom. This bird is known as the parasitic Yeager too, so the evidence is there for it, but there isn't a ton to support it. We weren't given a clear indication of what happened to the hallucigenia after Eren's death. It supposedly vanished. So again, there's a lot of loose ends that hasn't been tied. We also know that Isayama was rushed in this ending, as stated by him in an interview, so a lot of explanation we needed went out the window. But again, please remember to write your complaints, questions and opinions in the comment section below, because we will address it all in the next video. However, all in all, the theme of Eren seeking freedom was finally put to bed, as his freedom in creating a world where there is no walls and people can integrate with each other without hatred was able to be materialized, with Gabi, Falco and Levi being a representation of this freedom. Ymir also found her freedom, as she found herself in a mental slavery to a devil King Fritz. The love she had for him was unexplainable, and she needed to break out of this by witnessing a simulation of an event that love does not bind one over oneself, making one a slave. Mikasa was that representation. She loved Eren, who had become a devil, but didn't let her love put her into enslavement. Ymir needed Mikasa and Eren to move past the mental subjugation. Eren and Mikasa wished for each other's happiness the most. They selflessly abandoned their chance to be happy for the world. In the end, both Eren and Ymir found the freedom they were looking for. Let me know again what you lot thought, and also don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell to be updated. With that guys, we'll catch you lot till next time.